Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're located on planet Earth. It is time for the PulseWave Report with yours truly, the Algo Capitalist, aka the Vulcan, coming to you live from PulseWaveTrading.com, home of the world famous PulseWave Price Trigger Reports. All right, so first in the news, we have the holiday behind us. Passover's gone, Good Friday's gone, Resurrection Sunday is gone, and now here we are doing business as usual on Monday. The Dow Jones Futures is up 400 points. E-mini S&P 500 up 57 and a half. The E-mini NASDAQ 100 futures is up 232 and a half. Russell My Hustle is only up 2 points. That is an alarm, ladies and gentlemen. The alarm bells are sounding. Gold futures are only up $1.70 at 1730.10. Silver down 8 cents at 24.86 an ounce. Crude oil futures down $2.35 at $59.10 a barrel. The mighty Bitcoin futures composite index is up 355, trading at 59,970 after topping out at 60,100 this morning. Nat gas down 14 at 249. Soybeans up 13 and a quarter at 14.14 and 3/4. Corn down 6 and 3/4 at 5.53 even, and wheat up 4 and a quarter at 6.15 and a quarter. The long bond futures is down 1/32 at 155.21. It bounced off the low of 155.06. The high this morning was 156.06. So we got a full point trading range today in the bond futures. US dollar index is taking it on the chin, down 43 pips this morning, while the euro is up 52 pips. All right, so that is our overview of what's been going on, our little snapshot of the market. As you know, cryptos have been on fire recently. Several altcoins along with Bitcoin still strong this morning, but we are at major resistance points in several of the cryptos. You don't want to miss tonight's end of day report, as I will be breaking all that down along with the charts. All right. Now to our next order of business. We have today's quote from the prophet, from the scholar, from the nobleman, Mr. Charles Barkley. Quote, "Our system is set up where our politicians designed to make us not like each other so they can keep their grasp of money and power." Very, very interesting quote from Sir Charles Barkley. Something to think about. Are we being set up? Are we being lined up? It's gotten to the point now, not just because of CGI technology, not just because of Photoshop, not just because of deepfakes, but it's gotten to the point where the people cannot trust their government. The people cannot trust the mainstream media, which is an arm of their government. Why? Because the courts, the high courts, have ruled that it's okay to make up the news. CNN has been caught numerous times manufacturing news, lying about news. And it seems to be okay. People still watch it and even believe it. It's gotten to the point now where every piece of news that comes out on the mainstream media, we have to ask ourselves a series of questions. The first thing is this a made-up story? Is it something that they just pulled out of the air and actually made up? Meaning that it did not happen, it has not happened, and will not happen. The next question we have to ask ourselves too, especially when they show us footage of something, is the footage manufactured, or is it taken out of context, or is it the real thing? It's sad that we've gotten to this point, but we have to ask these questions. We don't know if it is a staged situation. We don't know if it's a real situation. And we don't know if it's a complete made up situation, especially when they don't show any footage. If there's no footage, usually 9 times out of 10, it's a made up story. I first personally realized that this was going on back in the early days, 30 years ago, in the newspapers. I caught them manufacturing articles. And we're talking about actual events that happen, them twisting, taking out of context, or making things up that didn't happen. First of all, I was part of it. All right, I was part of it. I remember when I was living in a certain area, and for some odd reason, I'm a very punctual person, just not on YouTube. But I was always punctual as far as getting to work and stuff on time, you know? And for some odd reason, this one morning, I just dragged my feet. I wasn't like exhausted or tired or anything. I was just, for some odd reason, I just couldn't get out the door, and I didn't know why. Then all of a sudden, the fire alarm goes off, and next thing you know, our building is up in flames. All right? The apartment building I was at was on fire. So for those of you who have lived in apartment buildings, high rises, especially in the urban centers, you know that when the fire alarm goes off, the first thing you do is you open your window and look, because if the fire is on your side of the building, you can see where it's coming from and whatever. If you see nothing, the next thing you do is you open your door. When you open your main door, if you see smoke in the hallway, then you know it's near you, all right? Because the alarm just went off, so it's near you. So at that point, you then grab your important people and you get out of the house. So I grabbed my wife, who was pregnant at the time and almost due, and we run down the steps and out of the building. Okay. I look up and I see the fire department, you know, and people outside, and we're talking amongst ourselves. The people who know what's going on tell us what's going on. And then next thing you know, what do we see? The news media is outside. Okay. And sure enough, one of them come up to me and they interview me. They ask me, say, you know, do you live here? What's going on? We see there's a fire. Do you know anything about it? I'm like, nah, you know, I was just on my way to work, and good thing I was running late because I would have missed it, and I wouldn't have been here to help my wife get out the building. So I'm glad I was. You know, no problem, no smoke inhalation. We good to go. Everything's good, right? Later that evening, on our local news, the featured story was my wife and I. And the headline read, "Man Rescues Wife from Burning Building." Total reach stretch of the truth. And they spend it like the whole building was up in flames. There was a 5-alarm fire. My wife's at the top floor. I scale the building like Spider-Man, put her on my back, and then I fly her down to safety with my cape. That's how they made it sound. Totally stretching the truth. That was strike one. Strike two was the place that I was working at the time. For those who work in, buildings where there's like a lot of different offices, there's cafeterias and stuff, and you see your other comrades in the building, and you talk and stuff like that. Yo, what's going on? How your day? What y'all up to up there? Whatever, whatever. So the one lady I was talking to, young lady, was really upset, and I was like, "What's going on? Why you not usually like this?" And one of her relatives, I think it was her cousin or something, had got killed, got murdered. I forget the particulars of the story, but I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." She was like, "Yeah, but that's not why she was upset. She was upset because she was like, did you see the paper?" I said, "Nah." She opened. She had the newspaper in her hand. She opened the newspaper up and showed me where they had, talked about the shooting, and it was totally not what happened. She told me what happened. I was like, "What? Let me see that again." Totally not what happened. It was as if they made up a completely different scenario other than what had happened. Nowhere near the ballpark of what happened. That was strike two. Strike three, once again, there was a shooting near a train station, and it was a police was involved. A cop was shot, officer down. The police report, the paper reported it like basically, like a robbery. They didn't know it was a police officer or something like that. They robbed him, shot him, whatever, attempted carjacking, whatever. Third strike, you're out. That was not what happened. What had happened was the cop on his off hours was dealing drugs. The people on the street in the hood knew him and what he was about, and this was really a drug deal gone bad. So the officer was killed, shot, I think he was shot in the head because of that. But the report made it seem like mistaken identity, whatever. Nowhere near the truth of what happened at all. Like they wanted to save face of the police department or whatever. Everyone knows that the DC Police Department has a history of rampant corruption going all the way back to the days when Rayful Edmond ran the city. So, and of course, under the tutelage of Marion Barry. All right, so we can't trust the mainstream media, and that's a sad place to be. You can't trust the newspapers. You can't trust the television stations. You can't trust nothing they say. You have to question it all. And we live in a new age now. This is a really strange one here. We live in an age where they use crisis actors to portray certain events to push certain narratives and certain agendas. We have even found out that now we've gotten into a dark side of things where they will manufacture events but make them real. And it's not fake, it's an actual real event. Like a person really died. And they will do these things. Or they'll be running a drill or something, a military exercise or police exercise, fireman drill, whatever. Fill in the blank. And then something will happen, and there you go. There's your event. But we do know for a fact that it is a truth that assassinations do take place. We understand about these secret societies and all these other things and how they do things. And yes, they do blood sacrifices and all this other weird stuff. And it's a real thing. It's a real thing. People really do die. All right. Like we know that 9/11 was staged. So much information has been gone out. Books have been written, documentaries done, eyewitness accounts, the whole nine. The government's narrative is totally false, but real people died. That's like one of my best examples of how they will stage something. They'll do these false flags, but they're real. 9/11 was like their magnum opus of false flags. We know Pearl Harbor was another one. All right. That was a real event that was actually staged. Staged meaning that our government knew about it and allowed it to happen because they wanted it to happen so they could have an excuse to go do what they wanted to do in the first place. All right. The Gulf of Tonkin incident is another staged false flag incident where it was real, things happen, and then they use it to do what they want to do to push their agenda. So, like right now, the other phase that they got going on too, which is kind of scary, is where now they can take real, actual stories like they did with me and my wife in the fire, or the young lady who had her cousin killed, or the cop who got killed. Well, they'll take real, actual events, but then they'll change the narrative of the story to meet their agenda. So, for instance, since we're now on this whole wokeness and cancel culture, every time a black person is killed in the street, they're going to blame it on white supremacy. It doesn't matter if he was shot by another black person. Doesn't matter if it was a drug deal gone bad. Doesn't matter if it was a gang banging incident. Doesn't matter if this black person was shot and killed by police in connection of committing a crime, a violent crime. Doesn't matter if the black person just finished shooting 10 people in a building and was running away when police shot and killed him, or he was shooting at police and they shot and killed him. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. The black man could be an axe murderer, a serial rapist, a serial killer. He could be whatever. Doesn't matter. If anything happens to that black man, it's white supremacy. As a matter of fact, everything that cannot be blamed on COVID is being blamed on white supremacy now. Anytime someone gets sick, it's going to be registered as COVID. Doesn't matter if it's true or not. Doesn't matter. COVID. Or they'll say, well, is it possible that he could have COVID? That's what, you see it like a court of law. They got a witness on the witness stand. And the cross-examination process goes like this. Sir, is it possible that this person could have had COVID? Well, sure. That's it. No more questions. Done with the witness. So that's what they're doing. Is it possible the guy who just died from cancer today, is it possible that he could have had COVID? Well, I'm sure. There you go. It was possible, so we're going to say he had COVID. And you can't prove that he didn't because we cremated the body, so there's nothing to work with. We're saying COVID. You can't prove it's not, and since you can't prove a negative, oh well. What we say goes. COVID. So if you're sick today, ladies and gentlemen, doesn't matter if you are suffering a terminal illness or a virus or a bacterial infection. Doesn't matter if you were, if you're injured in a work accident or a car accident, motorcycle. It doesn't matter. COVID. Anything health related now is COVID, and anything that has to do with black people being injured, doesn't matter if they're committing crimes. White supremacy. So now we have this new phenomenon of black men beating old Asian people, old women, old men. Doesn't matter if they look Asian or Asian descent. Black men are full of anger and rage and bigotry and racist, are punching out Asians, beating them up, killing some. And instead of it being the responsibility of the aggressive party, they're saying, nope, white supremacy. He killed him because of white supremacy. Everything a black person does now that is negative or bad is being blamed on white supremacy. A black man beats his wife. Well, the only reason why I beat her is because of white supremacy. Everything's white supremacy. They'll say, well, if it was not for white supremacy, then he wouldn't have been angry and frustrated and he wouldn't have beat her. Well, if that black man was not frustrated and angry because of white supremacy, he wouldn't have robbed that bank. Oh, he wouldn't have sold those drugs. He wouldn't have cut that dude. He wouldn't have stabbed that dude. White supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy, white supremacy. But I have a question for you. What if he has a white mom or a white dad? Is it still white supremacy if he commits crimes? What now? What now? If a black man commits a crime outside of the country of America, is it white supremacy still then? If a black man who is native from Chicago takes a flight and goes to West Africa and commits a crime and kills another black man over there, is that white supremacy? Really? So which is it? So if a black man is successful in the United States and goes to school, educates himself, and works his way out of poverty, is that too white supremacy? Or is only anything negative in the black person's life white supremacy? I can't believe that human beings could be so stupid. We are ramming neo-Marxism down the throats of every American citizen, whether they like it or not. These are neo-Marxist constructs and belief ideologies, and we are cramming it down people's throat. You are forcing every American to become a neo-Nazi and a neo-Marxist and a communist and a victim. No wonder the world sees Americans as fat, stupid, and lazy, because Americans are now being portrayed to the world as the victim. Americans are victims. Americans are victims of racism. Americans are victims because other countries and cultures hate our freedom. We're victims. America is always the victim. Victim, victim, victim. We are victims. We're being victimized by Islamic extremism. We're being victimized by white supremacy. We're being victimized because people hate our freedom. Everybody's a victim. Oh, we're so weak. Russia and China keep bothering us and picking on us. Russia keeps hacking our elections. China keeps hacking our technology and our software and our computers and our internet. We're just defenseless, weak victims. People keep doing things to us and we can't do anything about it. Woe is America. America is a victim. You can no longer even hold a meaningful conversation with the average American citizen without you offending their sensitivities, because the average American has become weak and overly sensitive. You cannot speak to them. You're using the wrong pronouns when you address me. You hurt my feelings. Anything that has to do with masculinity is frowned upon. So if you get rid of masculinity, the only thing that is left is femininity. Because there's only two: masculinity and femininity. If you get rid of the masculine, you're left with the feminine. So America has become feminine. Straight up. You are witnessing the demise of a world superpower. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. America's days as a superpower are numbered. Her house is burning down to the ground, and she can't do anything about it. The country's being ran by Marxists, by communists, socialists, and no one is doing anything about it. That's why they are burning the U.S. Constitution and the Bill of Rights. And next, they're going to start burning churches. America has decided there are some things that she hates and will no longer tolerate, and freedom is at the top of the list, followed by the Judeo-Christian faith. They don't want it, and they don't want any parts of it in the country. Soon the country will have no men left in it, and it will have no Christians left in it, and it will have no freedom left in it. Mark my words, today on April the 5th, this Monday of 2021, you will see all these things come to pass that I've just spoken to you. I do hope you are prepared for it, because along with that comes a whole lot of unintended consequences. You think your money's safe? If you don't understand how to trade these markets, your money is no longer safe. You're going to watch your money go poof in front of your face. That's right. Tomorrow is Turnaround Tuesday. Are you ready? Will you be well positioned for it? Or are you going to be one of those people crying to the government, claiming the victim once again? I didn't know what I was doing when I bought GameStop at $183 a share. I thought it would only go up. I didn't know. I didn't know that there's a such thing as using too much leverage. It's not my fault that the brokerage firm let me use 200 to 1 leverage, 500 to 1 leverage. I didn't know what I was doing. Help me. Get my money back. Help me. Turn those machines back on. Will you end up like Mortimer? Got to ask yourself that question, ladies and gentlemen. Don't miss tonight. I'm telling you, we're going to go into these algo charts and I'm going to show you a few things. Hopefully some of you will wake up by then. If you can't wake up from the morning PulseWave reports, hopefully you can wake up from the evening PulseWave reports. All right, you know what to do, man. Smash that like button. Remember, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And I'm out. Peace.